All right. So we did miss out on the definition of transitions and the discussion on how transitions tie into the class assessment and the early learning teaching practices. But we are going to go ahead and record the rest of today's session. We record these sessions and post them up on our YouTube channel so that teachers who can't attend the actual live sessions still have access to the training and still have access to the information. We encourage everyone to still attend in person when you can, because that's how you get your in-service hours. But sometimes we know that life just happens and gets in the way. So we are currently recording this. How are our discussions in our breakout rooms about what our current successes or current challenges are with transitions? Does anybody have anything they want to share?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, I was just asking what the conversations were when we were in breakout rooms about what our current successes and challenges we have with our transitions right now.
Thank you.
I think the breakout room was kind of short, so we didn't get much time to discuss.
Okay. I'll make note of that so we have a longer period next time.
Some did share. Ms. Iris says she uses verbal transitions, and a few challenges that others shared in our breakout group was that after nap challenge, the after nap transition. So waking up and either like going to snack or going to do what's next, and then lunchtime. So either right before lunchtime, that could be a little challenging for a transition. And then cleaning up and moving to the next activity was also a challenge.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Shai.
Of course.
Did anybody else have anything they wanted to add?
Yes, ECS Northwood, our biggest one is transitioning from the playground to, and also transitioning from the playground to go to the bathroom. We have to walk outside to go to the bathrooms. And so we have a bunch of kids that don't want to leave and want to stay on the playground, or when they don't want to come out of the bathroom. So those are our biggest hurdles.
Okay, good to hear, good to hear. Hopefully we'll have some kind of strategies for you to try out today to help address those concerns. And if not, we're always happy to work with you one-on-one to discuss, more individualized supports. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Appreciate your input.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I came in late. I can't find where to join the breakout room.
That's okay. We are actually now back from those breakout rooms. I didn't put you on because we are wrapping it up. But when we do our second breakout room later, I'll be sure to include you in one of the other rooms.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we're going to go ahead and explore some strategies for transitions and how to teach transitions. These are going to include a couple of items. The first one we're going to think through is our visual supports. So when we do visual supports, I went too far. This might, we're going to look at some specific examples here shortly. This might be a little cue card that you have a picture on of what the next activity is that they're transitioning to. We also might have visual cards for a movement that they can do in that transition. So are you going to hop like a bunny to go line up? Are you going to slither like a snake to go line up? And we might have those as visual cards as well. We will sometimes, depending on the age group, we might create them and post them in our classroom and refer to them throughout the day. And with our older students, it should be at eye level so they can see it and they can point to it and they can reference it throughout the day. We also, for younger students, infants and toddlers, those transition visual supports might be on smaller cue cards that are on our belt loops, depending on what your students' needs are. We also want to make sure that we are modeling to our students what we want from them in that transition. So in helping teach that transition. So identifying what steps need to happen during a transition, teach that transition, and then reinforce those transition steps and behaviors. When we do modeling, we're showing the transition. We're showing the activity and we're telling the children as we're doing it. So I am using my walking feet to go stand on this yellow star so I can wait for my turn in line. And you'll do it as you're saying it. That way the students see what exactly you're doing. And therefore, when you tell them to do the same thing, they know what that looks like. You also might consider role play or using puppets to model the transition activities. And this can be done in small groups, in dramatic play, during circle time. Young children really like puppets, and you could even get them to be the puppets, or you can even get them to role play what a transition looks like. Have 2 or 3 kiddos role play, and it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a whole production, but 2 minutes tops of what does it look like to line up with our hands behind our back, or bubbles in our mouth, or whatever your transition activity might be, or what does it look like to hop like a bunny to go to the bathroom. Those kinds of things are going to be really helpful. For positive feedback, whenever students do the transition as we anticipate for them to do, we really want to encourage their efforts by following in transition instructions. So for example, I see Susie using her butterfly wings to go to the block center. Thank you for staying safe as you go play in the blocks. Or Fred, you're using your walking feet to come to circle time. I'm so happy you chose safe feet to come and join us. So, really emphasizing the physical action that they're doing, that's what you want them to do in that transition, and telling them why it's important. You stayed safe as you came and joined us, you stayed safe to come play in blocks, that kind of thing. And even just if they're making a tiny effort to do what you want them to do, really encourage it, really emphasize it. That way, hopefully they'll start building on it. And then finally, preparing the children. So stating those expectations for that transition ahead of time, repeat those expectations often, and really individualize support as needed as well. For those expectations, it might be, okay, we're gonna, in 2 minutes, we're gonna clean up our blocks and we're gonna go to circle time. And that tells them a time frame, that tells them what you're going to be doing in that transition with the cleanup, and then what's about to happen next. Some examples of visual supports for transitions. We've got a couple different ones here. So the transition visual cards, this might be something that you put up on your wall, you print it, you laminate it, you might point to it throughout the day. So we're going to go line up, we're going to go clean up, we're going to pick a book, we're going to go to the bathroom. This is going to tell them, what that transition is going to include. For older students, a timer is really, really helpful. There might be, depending on your group of children, it might be something that rings or makes a noise of some sort. It might have numbers on it, but there should be some sort of indication to the children for when an activity is done and when they're getting ready to transition and move into the next activity. For some kids who don't like that loud noise, you might consider using a sand timer. That way they can see physically, oh, there's only a little bit of sand left at the top. It's almost time for us to clean up. It's almost time for us to transition. Again, it will depend on your preferences and your student preferences. With you see there's a little picture with a basket with little binoculars next to it. This one's a cleanup helper. So you might consider with transitions having different jobs to help with those transitions. Somebody who is identified to walk around and help their friends clean up their center or clean up their activity, or somebody who's your line leader, or somebody who gets your lights in order to tell everybody it's time to clean up. Having those jobs and having a job for every student can really assist with moving from one activity to the next pretty easily. And then on the right-hand side, we've got a poster with transition choices. And these are going to be visual cards that the children can choose how they want to move from one activity to another, providing those choices. So do you want to move like a butterfly or a rabbit or a robot? Which way are you going to choose to move today? And giving them a physical movement to assist in that transition. Just curious, does anybody use any of these strategies currently or something similar?
I don't use visual cards because my class is usually younger 1-year-olds, but I do use music, and I will shut off the light and turn it back on in between cleaning up and putting things away.
Yeah, music is a great example for an engaging transition activity as well. They can dance, they can wiggle. Thanks, Miss Destiny.
You're welcome.
I use the timer.
Okay.
We have timers on YouTube, clean up the room. And they like that, so they can sing while they're cleaning up.
Yeah. Do you have any particular songs that your kids really like to clean up to?
And I think it's just a song that says "clean up the room" on
Okay.
YouTube. It's like 5-minute or 10-minute timer.
There's a cleanup vacuum song.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Very nice. Okay, thanks for sharing, ladies. See, there's always all sorts of things even I don't know about. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing that you can do is if you do have younger kids, you can say in your transitioning, like you want to clean up, you can say, hey, can you put your hands in the air? Can you clap your hands 3 times and model the behavior? And it's an attention getter. And sometimes I do that when I don't have access to playing my CD, or like it's something that we immediately have to stop engaging in and we're trying to redirect.
Yeah, I have seen that in classrooms too, where like the class has been, for some of the older students, maybe 3s and 4s, where a teacher will raise their hand in order to get the children's attention, in order to give instructions on what the transition is. Or, you know, you hear with some students, clap once if you can hear me, clap twice if you can hear me, put your hand on your head if you can hear me. But turning off the lights is also really a nice visual indicator that there's instructions or there's a transition happening. Thank you for sharing. Please appreciate that. All right, so this particular slide, we're looking at stating expectations for each transition. So when getting ready for a transition, teachers should remind children of the steps and the expectations of each transition. So this is an example, a couple of examples here. So the first one is, before we go outside, stop at your cubby and get your coat and glasses. Or we're going to the centers. When I call your name, put your mats away, get your picture and choose a center. Obviously, for younger children, we may not give as many directions in that transition because that's too many. But we might say, first, we're going to clean up, and then we're going to go choose a center. Just kind of breaking it down into smaller pieces can really help them avoid feeling overwhelmed. Also in this slide is an example of a first then board. Some of you guys have kind of seen this with our visual schedules, but we use first then prompting as well in transitions. And because some children do need that additional instruction or additional visuals for them to be successful in following that transition. So this visual shows an example of the first, we're going to have lunch, and then we're going to go to the bathroom. And within that lunch activity, there's a couple of transitions that happen. You know, they get their lunchbox, they go and sit, and then they clean. There's 3 activities happening there with a couple of transitions included, moving from one activity to the next. And the visuals we have here are with a specific group of children. And so that we anticipate that this visual was created with the teacher's children in her classroom. Sometimes when we have those visuals in our classroom with the children in the classroom, they really feel ownership over that visual, and they can, you know, point to themselves and recognize themselves in those pictures. All right, this is a couple of ideas. Some of you guys have noted these already with the timers, but some other key parts here, when we're getting towards the end of an activity and we're about to transition, make sure we're giving some kind of warning, some kind of a signal to let the children know that a transition is about to happen. So give at least a 1-minute warning before the transition is about to occur. Some children who need the more individualized support might need up to 3 to 5 minutes. And so we might have to go to them separately and give them a warning earlier than the rest of the class. Allow the children to continue to play until the countdown is complete. That way they know that when you say that there's 3 minutes left, that there's actually 3 minutes left. For children who do need extra support, give instructions, give instructions at the beginning of that transition, and they might benefit from a picture card to cue them on what that activity and that transition is going to look like. And then finally, the ending activity in the activity to follow. So first we're going to clean up, and then we're going to go outside. And that helps them, know that this less desired activity is going to be followed up with a more desired activity that we're going to get to go outside. These are some examples of transition activities. So the picture on the left offers just 2 choices for transition. So we might have this posted up in our classroom. You can either walk like an elephant or move like a robot to go line up. With the picture on the right-hand side, it's a little pouch full of different cards. The children might choose a card out of that pouch, and they would use that transition to move from one activity to another. So you can be surfing or robot, whatever card they end up pulling from the pouch. There are also other ways to transition where you can have that quick, effective, and engaged transition with an educational opportunity. So for example, somebody said earlier, songs. Songs are great. A lot of kids know their ABCs, so they can sing ABCs. Repeat after me songs help get their attention. Finger play songs like Itsy Bitsy Spider or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star creates that movement as well. You might consider for your older students asking questions about the day. So what happened with that flower that we saw outside today? Why do you think it's raining today? What did you have for breakfast at home this morning? Or you might ask questions that help review curricular concepts from earlier in the day. So what shape was it that Pete the cat was standing on this morning? Or what kind of bug did we read about this morning? How many legs does it have? How many legs do you have? So really bringing in that concept in those curriculum items that you had discussed and bringing it back to them, getting them to think about it and answer your questions during that transition can help make it educational as well. This is going to be our last couple of examples of some visuals to use when we think about transitioning to a lineup. So the first one on the left, the teacher picks 2 popsicle sticks and these children line up together as buddies. The second picture is an example of shapes on the floor. So the teacher can tell the child to go find the gold star or go find the yellow feet. And the child has to find that spot to line up, again, integrating those colors, those shapes, and that learning opportunity. And the last picture, the feet prints with the colors, the teacher would draw a number or a color, and the child would then go find those feet to line up on. So again, we're looking at number review, color review, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show just a quick slide right here, a quick video. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound real quick. And I am. Okay. This is a 43-second video where we watch a teacher just offer options for the children to transition with. So you'll see how quickly this goes for the children to choose their transition activity and for them to actually go line up.
So we're going to get ready to line up. to have our snack. So today you have the choice of moving like a rock star to the door or surfing on a wave. Yeah, dude. All right, so I'm gonna call your name. You're gonna tell me how you're gonna move from the carpet to the door. All right? Max, Kaylani, Gia, stand up, please. How are you gonna go to the door? Rock star, all right. You gotta make the sound, surfer. All right, show me how you surf. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It looks like he's still thinking about it. 1, 2, 3. How are we gonna get to the door? Rock star, show me those rock stars. Oh yeah, look at that rock boy. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that was our example here
So we're gonna
for just providing choices and how they were going to line up. And every child chose one and did the movement, and they go to line up, and they knew exactly what was expected of them in that transition. Okay, so what other questions do we have about transitions or strategies for transitions? No questions? All right, so here's what we're gonna do next. We are gonna go back into breakout rooms here, and I'm gonna give us about 5 minutes this time to go ahead and just identify one of the strategies that we went over just, in today's session, and just think about how you might use that in your classroom, what materials you might need to use it in your classroom, and just kind of create a plan for yourself to use that practice or use that strategy in your own setting. So I'm gonna go ahead and get us ready for our breakout rooms again. And let's see here. We're gonna do 5 minutes in there. Okay, and so we're going into our breakout rooms to identify a practice that we're gonna try out this week. So you might have any questions? Okay, I'll see you guys back here in just a few minutes. So how did our discussions go? Was everybody able to think through and work through an idea of something they're going to try this week? Any big aha moments?
I'm muted. Miss Amanda shared that she'd like to try the choices on how to transition. And she knows that she'll probably need like pictures and things. And she'd use it like for their transition from circle to outside time. And she says she feels like it'll help make the transitions easier, since she'll be able to give the children the choice on how they would like to transition. They'd probably be more engaged with transition, more inclined to transition. So we talked a little bit about that, and I also shared that, if they needed help creating anything, that we are here to support.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Miss Katrina was talking about how they have 16 kids, 2 teachers, but they have runners, they have some with behavior issues, they also have some that are not potty trained, so like coming in from the bathroom is hard. She's getting ropes, so she's hoping that ropes of different colors will help them, stay focused. It's not easy for them to have, like I would suggest, splitting into groups and that kind of thing, but with her classroom setup, it's not quite so easy. So she's looking forward to getting those ropes, and I told her I'd be happy to come out, if she needed any help or idea out for support. So
Yeah.
Any help? Yes, I'm here. Yeah, you guys say you were willing to come out. That's perfect. Anything that would help.
Yeah, just shoot. I'll share my contact information, and I'll have the ladies share their contact information as well. But you are more than welcome to reach out to us and be happy to support you any way we can.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, it sounds like some great planning is going to go on. Yeah, I'll share my contact information here. I'm going to give us some resources for today. So we will be putting these in the chat box, and we'll also be sending these out in the follow-up email. And so we will be sharing some visual transition cards with you guys. There is going to be a National Center for Pyramid Model, NCPMI article on helping children transition between activities. There will be a third document that is to send home with your parents on how to help your child transition smoothly between places and activities. So helping that home school connection go well, and sharing those documents can really help you as the teacher in the classroom. And then we'll also be sending a high quality environments checklist. This comes from the pyramid model as well. And this just kind of helps you self-reflect on, do I have these practices in place? Do I have these structures in place? If not, maybe I will consider making this adjustment to my classroom and testing it out, seeing how it goes, seeing if it works well for me. Just that kind of support. And for today, we are going to go ahead and wrap up with a couple of items. So we were able to define what transitions are. We discussed why they're important. We shared some strategies for teaching transitions, including visual supports, modeling, that positive descriptive feedback, and that preparation. All of those strategies can be used and individualized for young children who might need more intensive interventions depending on their personal needs. And then we were able to discuss next steps for implementing your new strategy. With that, my name is Lexi, and we have Miss Sarah and Miss Shai, and I think Miss Julia was on earlier. We are all here from the Early Learning Coalition. We are here to support you. If you need us, please, please, please call, email, whatever you need, give us a call, give us a contact. We're happy to print things for you, laminate things for you, like visual cards for your transitions. If you need support with really anything in your classroom, we're here for professional development. We're here to support you, and we will do so in any manner that we can. We are going to be sharing the evaluation in the chat box. This is how you get your in-service certificate. This also helps us learn like what we did really well, what we can adjust to make better next time. If there's any particular training topics you guys want to see in the near future, we do look at those evaluations. We do use the feedback that we get from those in order to inform future training sessions. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.